Welcome to Germany vs. USA. Today, we're going to talk about American stereotypes.
First stereotype for Americans is that they are patriotic.
I'm going to agree with this stereotype. I think Americans are very patriotic. It goes back to basically the beginning of our culture, from breaking off from England, all the way to present day, where you see American flags on most American homes. You see them, you see, in school, you say the Pledge of Allegiance.
You sing the national anthem whenever you can.
Yeah, like sporting events.
Driving the car, whistling the national anthem
every morning on the way to work. No, yeah, I agree. We're patriotic.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Americans love their celebrities.
I will agree. And I think what is interesting is in the United States culture how much politics, sports, and I guess celebrities, how that all intertwines in Hollywood. Though it all becomes one big thing where, or Barack Obama will be present on some kind of show in the media, and it's all very connected, I guess.
Yeah, Americans love their entertainment. We have just trash telly, the Kardashians, Honey Boo Boo, Real Housewives, just endless, Duck Dynasty, endless things like that. And then we have the whole paparazzi following our celebrities around and athletes, and very, very much so.
It's almost an industry.
Oh, it is an industry. It's a big industry. So unfortunately, I will agree that is a very true stereotype.
Classic American stereotype is Americans are fat. And I think, you will see more obese people in the United States than you will probably do in Europe, I guess.
Yeah, you're going to see more fat people here. However, the other end of this, you have both spectrums, because you're going to see people in a lot better shape here than you do in Europe as well.
The fitness cult is insane.
Right, and so that always gets left off, the stereotype. But yeah, there's a huge fitness culture here. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of fatties.
A lot of fast food.
Yeah, and part of it has to do with how our culture is, between we're always hurrying, fast food, cheap,
eating healthy is a little
driving
expensive.
Everywhere.
Right.
There are fatties here, and then also though a lot of people in great shape. In America, everyone is in prison.
So you're saying that a lot of people are in jail, or being arrested and going to jail happens fairly often, right?
Way easier here. We have more people in jail than per capita than any other country. So there, with that stereotype, there's truth, and I'm sure there's research and a whole topic that we could go on that. But yeah, it's easy to go to jail here, even for small crimes. So
yeah, very true.
You gotta kind of be on your toes if you're having a good time,
or just act normal.
Yeah.
Next stereotype is Americans are very nice and friendly, and I think that's very true. It's very easy to get into a conversation with an American being in the US. It's very easy to have small talk with them, and it's not always sincere, I guess. It's just to give you a good feeling, or to have a small talk conversation. But still, I like that. It makes me happy.
Yeah, that's definitely true in America. There's certain parts of the country where you have more small talk and friendliness, like the South, than other parts of the country where you have bigger metropolitans. But overall, I find Americans to be very nice and very friendly.
They're in California also. They're super nice and chatty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and way different than going into Europe, where people don't really want to deal with small talk.
Yeah, no kidding.
Americans were always in a hurry.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll have to agree. Except when you're on vacation, then you're in a real hurry.
Yeah, when we're on vacation, we don't have time to do anything because we're so busy.
Just traveling around.
Just traveling. We have to be on our next appointment for the relaxation.
Moscow at 7. Moscow at 7. Where, Paris at 6. Damn it.
But that's a big difference. Especially we've talked about before, going out to eat. Very different, because here Americans are on their lunch break or on their dinner, and they want quick service. They don't like waiting around.
We were sitting at a table and we had ordered drinks, and we didn't get our drinks after, I guess, 2 minutes, 90 seconds or something. And just like, I wonder if I forgot our drinks.
I think my exact words were, I think they're interviewing a new waitress to bring us our drinks. Because it had been past my time that I allow.
And but even if Americans are impatient, they will not be angry about it. You wouldn't have offended the waiter or something.
I mean, no. I mean,
you would still have been nice about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a nice person. Like, I'm not going to be, But yeah, we're always in a hurry. But I think that's one thing that's so nice. I mean, I loved like when I'm travel is now it's changed now. But when we first started doing this, neither one of us had a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so nice to kind of get away from like the cell phone and being on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit getting used to because you're always just like, oh man, I shouldn't be like sitting here this long. I got something to do. And then you're like, no, you really don't. Just take a deep breath.
Relax. Americans are wasteful. I will have to agree with that, even though in the last, I mean, how long have I been here? Like, I guess 7, 8 years or something.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot where you will see that, grocery stores, for instance, they will have recyclable bags and that kind of stuff. You will have more fuel-efficient cars. But it's taken a lot longer for America to adapt than it does, for instance, in Europe.
Yeah, no, Europe definitely got a jump on us on that. I feel, like you said, we're better than what we were. But yeah, we're
still pretty wasteful.
I mean, Alex is upset because we don't have 18 trash cans here, only the 3.
Right.
Americans are loud!
I will have to agree to that. It's actually kind of true. Americans will speak louder. And Americans are also less sensible to noises. When we're in an apartment, you will hear like the washing machine is really loud. Then there's an air conditioning running. Some people never find the key to turn off the sound on their cell phones, and they'll always be beeping all the time. And like, I'm sitting there and I think, doesn't that drive anyone else insane? It doesn't drive anyone else insane. I'm the only one.
No, we're a little loud. It's really embarrassing when we're in Germany or when we're in Europe and you like turn a corner and you're like, oh God. And you can just hear like Americans yupping it up. And it's a stereotype.
Isn't it beautiful up there?
Yeah. Oh, old church.
I was like, awesome.
But yeah, we're a little louder. I don't know why, and it's bothersome. I mean, we've had lunches here where it's just people like putting on a show at their table.
I think the show thing. Sometimes I feel like they want everyone to know what they're talking about, kind of like a bragging thing a little bit. But I think that was like in that case. But usually, like when I don't know why. It's just they're just a little louder.
Just a little louder. We'll work on it, Europe. Don't worry about it.
Americans love guns. We bought this for this episode, of course. That was not in his house, Jim's house. No.
Well, we just got a guy on the corner of the street just selling them, and so you can just buy a gun. Like you want like a hot dog, a Coke, and a 45. $5.
Oh shit! Oh, there we go.
I would say yes. I don't know the number on the amount of Americans who have guns who do not have guns, and I'll be the first to admit there is probably a gun problem in America. Because I mean we do have a lot of gun violence. Yeah, Americans have guns. It's just
it's a constitutional thing though. It's really based on the history of the United States. It's not as easy. Europeans tend to just condemn that, and I personally would also like to see a lot less guns in the United States, but it's a little more complicated than just saying, just get rid of them, I guess.
Right, and it's a little more difficult to buy a gun than people I think in Europe perceive. Like it's don't worry about that.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's a little harder to buy a gun, but it's not that hard. And some states have different laws than others. It's just safe to assume, though, that guns are around you.
Right, and yeah, they are around.
Americans are ignorant about the world.
I think that's partly true. I think Americans have a very internal focus. A lot of Americans will have an internal focus where they really mostly care about what's happening within their countries, or their state even perhaps, and they don't really have that external focus about Europe or other parts of the world. But that is also due to how big the country is and just how vast this country is. I mean, if you want to go anywhere, you need to fly out to go to Canada, you need to fly to go to Mexico. It's 1,000 miles away from anywhere, basically. And whereas in Europe, for instance, it's very easy to get around, to go to different countries, right?
Yeah, I think we could work better at that. I mean, I read something earlier today that only 30% of Americans have a passport. And I don't know if that stat is completely accurate.
That is, if you need to get a gun, then you need a passport.
No, you don't need a passport for a gun.
Just kidding. But it's true, only 30%.
Yeah, 30% of Americans have a passport, and you don't have to travel outside the country to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But that's an example of how Americans, some do travel, but we're kind of focused here. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we're ignorant. I think obviously there's cases.
Right.
Going into studying abroad, one thing that would always bother me is when I'd be around other Americans and they hadn't done their homework on where they were. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with our show, basically we look at culture above language, because you want to understand kind of more about where someone's from than just their language. Mm-hmm. And I think Americans could do a better job of being prepared when they do go into other countries, of knowing their surroundings.
Okay, I think I agree. And there's a lot of shows or interviews with Americans where they're being made fun of because they don't know anything about geography. If I asked Europeans or Germans about where a certain state within the United States will actually be located, you will get a lot of funny answers also if you know the American states where they are. So, it's always two sides. What's the right term? Saying with the sword?
Two sides of the sword?
No.
You can fall on the sword?
No, what's the thing called?
Sword is sharp?
No. There is. Damn it.
There's two sides of the story?
Yeah, let's keep it with that.
There's truth in that stereotype.
Americans are optimistic.
Yes.
This video is going to get 14 bazillion views.
I mean, Americans are on the other side of pragmatic, where we're more optimistic. Mm-hmm. Where some of my European friends are on the other side. The glass is half empty versus the glass is half full with us.
I'll have to agree with that. Yeah, Americans are very optimistic. They often rather see opportunities than barriers or problems, and I like that a lot because it will keep you motivated actually doing certain things. That's very different than it is, for instance, in Germany.
And that goes to following the American dream. I mean, you see it all the time. There'll be a news article of someone who has failed and then becomes successful. I mean, that's part of the American mindset, to keep trying and trying. And if you don't have that optimistic, happy-go-lucky, it can be a rough road.
Right, and that's awesome though. What they says that if you fail, you get up and try again. Whereas in Europe or in Germany, at least, it's if you failed, you're a failure basically. And in the US, it's not that mindset. It's well, that's good. You made a mistake. Learn from that. Go on. Those were our 2 cents on American stereotypes about Americans, I guess. You go to the comment section and leave the stereotypes that you find are true or false, and any that we forgot.
Maybe 1 or 2.
Cheers.
Y'all take it easy.